Hello there, Cancer. I'm Michele B, and I created a reading for you with the tarot cards. And I think this reading is for those of you who are getting closer to someone, or you kind of split and then you're getting back together, and you're wondering whether or not you should continue to invest in this person, whether you should continue to put your love into them. And if you don't resonate with that storyline, make sure and check out readings for your rising, your moon, your Venus, your Mars on my channel or on many other tarot readers' channels. What matters is that the questions that you have get answered in a beautiful way. But if you do resonate with this story, make sure and give it a thumbs up. And let's go ahead and get started. I'm like, oh my gosh, where do I even start? Before I clicked on the button to get going. Okay, well, let's start at the beginning. I pulled a affirmation. I forgive myself for past mistakes. And I was like, yikes. Okay, here we go, Cancer. So we hold ourselves, all signs will do this, but Cancer is very, very inward focused. And they're like, I did this before and it hurt someone and I never want to go through that again. It hurts you just as much as it hurts them when there's something an action that you have to take that hurts their feelings, that it hurts their egos, right? So if you had to break up with someone before and you're like, I shouldn't have done that. This is something I'm hearing really clearly. It's like you didn't mean to hurt them, but it ended up happening. And you're like, I never want to go through that again. So I will never commit to anyone that I'm not 100% wholly into. But the thing is, you've never been 100% fully into anybody because of the kind of relationship that you have with yourself, Cancer. And it is that nobody gets me. Nobody understands. You're the moon, right? Nobody understands my loneliness. So this is your challenge, right? Is that you're never going to be 100%, even though you really are into somebody. You're like, well, they'll never get me. So rather than me being hurt, I'm going to have to hurt them. And that's it's this vicious cycle, right? What to embrace? Embrace the fact that you feel lonely. We got the King of Cups here. He's just kind of by himself holding his cup and he's kind of sad. And it was in reverse. So we're looking at the shadow aspects. Embrace the fact that you don't feel like you'll ever be understood, because the truth is nobody feels like they can be fully understood. And so we have to put so much love into ourselves first. And if someone wants to be along with us on the ride and we're kind to them, then that's okay. We're always like, oh, but we could do better. We could do better. Maybe you can. Maybe you will. But you never have to be. There was so much to unpack from this reading. You never have to feel. What is it? Consent. Okay. Thanks for your patience while I sort out the words. You can always leave a relationship when you're ready. If you do find the one, you're with someone and you find the one, you can leave. You're never trapped. You can always go. All right. You can always walk away from it. There are sacrifices that you have to make along with that, right? But I don't want to hurt anybody. Sometimes it happens, right? And if two people really deeply care about each other, they will let each other be happy. And that's what we're going for, right? Leaving behind the pain from before, of when you committed before, the pain of their broken heart and your broken heart. That happens, and that's how we learn and we grow. And what we learn from it is that that's part of life. Loving people and releasing them, that's part of life. That's part of the cycle. It's what you signed up for when you came into your physical body. But always being alone because you're afraid of that vulnerability is so much worse than suffering some heartbreak later on down the road. It's so much worse. It's just like that long drawn out pain rather than the sharp pain of the thing that's happening. We just remember the breakup. We don't remember that long, lonely time of not being vulnerable with people. I was looking at your internal landscape, and that's how I came up with this story. So I had the Tower. I'm afraid I'm going to mess things up. I've got the King of Cups, that means the King of Cups is like, I really do feel like this is somebody I can be vulnerable with. The person that you're connecting with, you're like, I feel like it's the right thing to do for me to be vulnerable. We have the Strength card also to support that. Like getting out of my comfort zone, trying new things, being willing to be brave just for a little while to try this out. But then that's the dichotomy that you're dealing with here. It's like, I do want to step outside of my comfort zone, but I'm afraid of the pain. I'm afraid of the pain of breaking their heart, and I'm afraid of the pain of me having to be the one that does it. And Cancer, I know you have a hard time with boundaries, even though you're never fully in the relationship when you're in it, because you're like, you don't get me to them, right? At the same time, you're like, you don't get me, but I don't want to break your heart. So I'm just going to like have no boundaries, right? No emotional boundaries. But the ideal is the opposite, right? To be fully vulnerable, to be brave enough to express yourself, express what it is that you want, what you need, and be able to say, okay, this is as far as I will go in investing in you. And this is my private space, or I get to break up with you if I want to. As soon as I feel like this isn't working, I can say it, instead of letting it drag on and on and on, and have it be this like continual, like undermining it. That's how breakups for you happened in the past. It's like you're like constantly trying to undermine the relationship so that you don't have to be the one that breaks up with them. So that's another thing that this King of Cups is all about, is about emotional manipulation for your unconscious desires. So like, you don't want to admit it, you would never say it out loud, but you're not happy in the relationship, right? So you're like, I'm going to do little things or point out little things that they're doing wrong, or I'll do little things to like bring out their worst, and then say, yeah, that's why we should break up, instead of just saying, I'm a bad guy, okay? I want to break up. You know, and just get it over with. And that's the thing that's drawn out for you. It just drags it on and on and on. And it's time to address that, right? And you know that in the future, instead of dragging it on and on, you're going to realize when it's not working for you, and you're going to say something. Now, you can give your potential partner or the person that you're with the opportunity to make it right. You know, be vulnerable enough to give them a chance. Once you've told them, this is what I would like, give them a chance to make it right. And if they can't, if it's not for them, you could say, okay, well, I don't have hard feelings. You can feel however you want. I don't have hard feelings against you. We just have to call it off. All right. That's what life is for. It's for being brave enough to commit to things, and being brave enough to say when that's enough. Both things are very hard for you, so you're in this in-between place all the time. Our advice going forward, Cancer, Strength card came back. Remember, we had that in your internal landscape. What you feel is right to do is actually right to do. Let yourself, allow yourself to come out of your comfort zone. It's scary. I understand. I get it. I get that it's scary to be vulnerable enough to say, this is the kind of relationship that I'd like to have. This is the kinds of things that I'd like to do. And express it, right? Express it and show it and be that person, instead of waiting for the other person to read your mind. That takes so much courage, and that's what the Strength card is all about. It takes so much courage. Okay. And then we have the Six of Wands here. It's the Victory card. It's the being supported card. And I think this is the Six of Wands and the Six of Pentacles are both here. And I think it's trying to say that there's really good potential in this connection that you're in right now. I got something in my eye. I'm sorry. There's really good potential in this relationship that you're in right now for the person that you're with to reciprocate what it is that you want, but you have to be brave enough to express it. You have to be able to find the words or the demonstration to show them who you really are and what your desires are. And it could be just as simple as saying, I am scared of commitment. I'm afraid of that. And I just have to go really, really slow. And just because I seem like I have cold feet doesn't mean that I don't care about you and that I don't want to try. It's just sometimes I falter a little bit, you know. Be willing to be that weak person for just, you know, just for that partner, just for that person. Be willing to be that weak person that expresses it. And it's like, I'm trying. But often just saying it out loud is enough to help push you over the edge into courage. The Two of Pentacles is here along with the Eight of Cups in reverse. And it's like this, should I stay, should I go kind of energy. Whenever you're feeling that, I'm not sure what to do, it's saying, remember, this cup is, or the Eight of Cups is about the investment, walking away from investments. Know that you can. That's what I'm feeling, is that you always have the right to walk away. You always have the right to take temporary timeouts without actually doing a breakup. You always have a right to take your space. And I think that the whole, the weak boundary thing that you've had in the past is it's like you're afraid to take the space that you need when you need it. Because sometimes Cancer needs to be able to do things on their own, have space to themselves, so that they can, like, even if it's not by themselves on their own, but without their partner, to have a life somewhere else outside of that partner. And maybe in the past you haven't had that kind of boundary to say, actually, this is something I'm going to do without you. And because you're afraid of hurting their feelings, but you need to be able to do that. Okay. So just because you're allowing this other person to love you, just because you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable enough to love them, doesn't mean you have to give up who you are. And that's the thing. In the past, you've lost your identity completely in relationships. And so when they broke up with you, you lost it. You lost who you are because your identity was so entangled with theirs, and vice versa. They lost who they were because your identities were so entangled. So make sure and keep your private world. Make sure and keep space to yourself. Invest in you as much as you can while you're also loving someone else. Never neglect yourself in the process of loving someone else. I like that. Being two people, I'm saying two people, being two people that love each other but are separate individuals, reflecting each other, but also doing their own thing sometimes too. They're not like, because then it's really hard when it breaks off, right? I love you, Cancer. Thank you so much for being with me today. If you did love this reading, make sure and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to me. And in the description box below, you'll find a link to my Instagram so we can be friends. Love you. I'll see you later.